shall we?
That's a mallet.
Big amount.
How about this for a change? We start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Very fine.
All right, and how about we ask Andrew to lead us?
Oh, wow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, April, would you mind taking roll?
Sure.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Hobart, Commissioner Hernandez, Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Miley, Chair Splendorio,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Marchand,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Von Heater Leopold.
Here.
Let the record reflect, roll call has been taken, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you so much, April. Good afternoon. My name is Glenn Splendorio. I'm the chair of the commission, and we have called this meeting to order. And so let's start off with public comment. Anyone from the audience, whether here in person or virtually, I assume we have a link going, right? Somebody's handling that?
No, just, excuse me, this is an in-person and only.
Oh, in person only. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So anyone from the audience may address the commission on any matter not listed on the agenda within the jurisdiction of Alameda County LAFCO. The commission cannot act upon matters not appearing on the agenda. Your speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And sir, I take it you would like a public comment?
She said.
Yes, we have one public comment.
All right, please, if you state your name and proceed.
Kelly Abreu. First off, the planning meeting last month, I'm very worried about that. That would be nice to sit down with all of you. This is great to be in the same room with all of you, and we could all, spend all day together doing planning and discussion, dreaming and scheming, and that was canceled. I'd like to see if you can get that rescheduled sometime. Wouldn't that be great? And the two missing seats here, Supervisor Halbert, Supervisor Miley, very important that they be here to hear what they did wrongly just a short time ago, a couple of weeks ago. They voted to approve a contract, take $8 million from Mountain House. Of course, Mountain House is giving out $5.5 million. Little difference there. One guy thinks they're giving 5, the other guy thinks they're getting 8. And Mountain House is paying for 2 roundabouts out there. Now, if any of you have ever looked, there is here details for you lawyers who know how to read legal documents. There's a letter with all of what I'm about to say explained in detail, the laws and things. And what it basically says is, if you're going to build new roundabouts and get out other districts to pay for them, you must get approval from LAFCO. And they went to their county council said, oh, it's not really an increase in volume and capacity, and they got it approved. But it is an increase in volume and capacity, as shown if you look at what the traffic engineers of Mountain House and what the politicians of Mountain House were saying last December. They said, these traffic circles, why would they pay $8 million to improve safety? They thought that they were improving traffic volume and they were going to address congestion by increasing volume. Now, if you look at Alameda County Ward 77, that's known as Measure D, the East Carolina Area Plan, it says that any improvements that would improve local circulation, that would expand the capacity of Altamont Pass and Vasco Road, gateways leading into the planned area from the San Joaquin and Contra Costa counties, would be inconsistent with Measure D. That's what they're doing. What they're doing is inconsistent in Measure D. And they are undermining LAFCO because they said, oh, we don't need LAFCO approval. But I would call upon LAFCO to get a county council that does not say county council on their email. Mr. Massey, your email says county council. I would recommend that you get an independent council that is working by and for LAFCO to look at these issues. Because you can't rely on county councils when county's getting paid $8 million to build more roundabouts and expand capacity coming in over the Altamont Pass so more cars can come in. And And also,
Mr. Kelly-Obru, your 3 minutes have been up.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
No other public comments.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to the consent agenda. The next item is the approval of the consent calendar. Are there any commissioners that would like to pull an item to discuss before public comment or a motion? Nobody so far. So,
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Is there any public comment?
No public comments, sir.
I'm going to close the public comment period. Should we still do roll call or no?
We'll take a vote though.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Abstention?
I'm sorry.
Abstention?
Abstentions?
Okay.
All right, next item. Number 4, the draft operating budget and work plan for fiscal year 23-24. Our LAFCO will consider adopting a draft budget and work plan for fiscal year 23-24, anticipation of taking final action at its next regular meeting. Proposed budget expenses total $784,740, representing an increase of $38,312, or 5.1% from the current fiscal year. This increase is marked by expenses, professional services in the service and supplies unit for additional LAFCO studies, and a rise in membership and travel costs. Any report, Rachel?
I could just provide a small little update that this increase is supplemented with a fund balance offset of $265,000, about a $15,000 net increase from the current fiscal year. There is a total increase of agency contributions of $23,310, and that is the same matching 5.1% increase. The operating expenses total are divided between labor and non-labor costs by, it's about 54% to 40% split, and then there's an additional 6% expenses dedicated to contingencies. And for the proposed work plan, it includes a comprehensive Tri-Valley area municipal service review. So that's a regional municipal service review that is on the work plan for the next fiscal year. And then we do have a continuation of our MSR on police protection services and community services, municipal service review. And just to provide an update on that, there has been a request for proposal again on that with a deadline by April 7th. So hopefully we receive some good proposals for the commission to review, and we'll provide a recommendation. And then lastly, I think a notable item on the work plan is the completion of our Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Planning Grant. We'll have some maps for the commission that will identify high priority conservation areas or development areas for urban gardens. And then the adoption will precede a formal public review and comment period and conclude with final action taken at the next regular meeting that is scheduled for May 11th. So with that small update, I'll return the item to the chair for any commission discussion or to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Crystal, any questions of the staff? Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing. Are there any speakers on this item?
We have one speaker. Mr. Brio, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. One thing I don't see written down here on the work plan is the words Castro Valley. That was a big study, and I haven't seen the end of it. And I was hoping, because that just, a matter of half an hour ago or an hour ago, these people, like half the population of Castro Valley was talking to Supervisor Halbert and Supervisor Miley and telling them what they want to do with a municipal building there. And they didn't get what they wanted. In fact, one of the supervisors said, if Castro Valley were incorporated, I know that this is what they would want. So what about that idea of if Castro Valley were incorporated? What would that take? What would it cost? What are the legal obstacles? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brew. To address Mr. Brew's comment, if I recall, we approved a study of the incorporation of Castro Valley 4 months ago, maybe? 6, something like that? Is that correct? Rachel?
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that?
I just did to address Mr. Brew's comment that Castro Valley, we approved or authorized a study of the incorporation of Castro Valley
Yes.
4 months ago or so?
Yes, and right now we're in the data collection phase, and we believe a draft will be completed most likely probably by April, and we'll have that for the commission to review. And it's not included in this work plan because we think most of the report will be be before the end of this fiscal year.
Thank you.
And
All right.
it's also up to the residents at Castro Valley too, so.
Right, but I believe the comment that you.
No, I know, I'm
studying
just saying
it.
that.
We are studying it, actually. Okay, no further comment, I see.
No further comments, Chair.
So close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Brown moves a motion to approve staff recommendation. I'll second.
Thank you so much. All in favor? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, April, you had something to say?
I was going to say, all those in favor, say A.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the motion, say nay. Any abstentions? The affirmation has it, the motion is carried.
Thank you so much. All right, next item is review of draft scope of analysis of agricultural land use designation project. LAFCO will receive a draft scope of analysis to define potential project for the County of Alameda's Planning Department on the review of land use designations for agricultural land in corporate areas of Alameda. So we could have a presentation.
Thank you, Chair. At the Transportation Planning Committee, at the Transportation and Planning Committee meeting held February 6th, a discussion was had that although most of the agricultural land in the unincorporated county is in the same zoning district, and that is marked as Agriculture District, or A, there are 3 different general plan land use designations that apply to the same areas, and they are large parcel agriculture, resource management, and water management. And they have differing levels of restrictions on development, generally based on environmental sensitivity of the land. It was pointed out that after the county's East County Area Plan was amended in November of 2000, the zoning ordinance should have been amended to create new zoning districts specific to each of the general plan designations to address the different requirements of each. This has never been completed and has been added to the list of agriculture-related projects for the county's planning department to complete. The project will also require clarifying the distinction between land uses allowed in resource management and those in large parcel agriculture. At the Commission's Ad Hoc Measure D Committee meeting held on February 24th, it was recommended, due to the limited staffing resources at the county's planning department, LAFCO should perhaps draft a scope of work to outline a timeline and deliverables to initiate this project and help find a consultant to conduct it. The draft scope is presented for discussion and information to the Commission today, and with membership consent will be sent to the county's Community Development Agency for review and comment, with a final version to be presented for April and May of 2023 of this year. The scope of analysis is intended to provide a transparent roadmap in initiating the agricultural land use designation project that I'm titling it, and is premised on reconciling the county's broad statutory obligation therein with LAFCO's more finite resources and local interests, such as potential annexations, out-of-area service agreements, and service requirements with perhaps for future designation change or zoning district. Staff believes the proposed scope of analysis outlines an approximately 15-month process to effectively determine and assess land use designations of agricultural lands in the East County area, with information to establish and complete agriculture zoning districts. I will return the item to the chair for any discussion.
Thank you. Any questions at this time of the staff? Yeah. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we open a public hearing, receive some comments, and then we'll have some discussion. Are there any comments?
We have one public comment. Mr. Rio, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Welcome.
So, I don't know that there really is a need to clarify the distinction between resource management and large parcel agriculture. I think it's already written down. I think when people start talking about clarifying that really means changing. And when they talk about changing, that really means that they're trying to enhance their profitability. And when they really talk about profitability, profitability does not come from agriculture. It comes from what? Services. Entertainment services. It comes from 400-person banquet halls. It comes from large events. It comes from lakes and dams and beaches. And this kind of stuff is prohibited in some of these areas, and that might be why they want to play around with clarification. And when we talk about, recusals, some of you are getting paid by these people to, talk about changing the boundaries, remember that one? Or talk about the microbrewery ordinance. Some of you are getting paid to advocate on behalf, it's called lobbying, lobby on behalf of landowners. And that's not very, that's not compatible with some of your duties and your votes here. So what does that mean? It means we have to be very careful about resource management. We can't be playing around with clarifying and trying to blend, merge, conflate resource management with large parcel agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comments?
No more public comments, Chair.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. All right, return it to Mr. Carlo.
If I may, I apologize. I would like to understand better why there's a need to change zoning of some of these large parcel lands and what that has to do with LAFCO and why we are a part of that.
So I think most likely the zoning will not change. It is just for LAFCO's trying to be a facilitator amongst all these agencies, and this has seemed to be an issue in the community that there's no clarifying distinction between these two zoning designations, and they seem to have piggybacked from a previous older general plan, and they were never clarified or updated or amended that fit the needs right now. As you know, LAFCO cannot directly influence land use, and that is not what we're trying to do. We do just want to, if we can aid and help the county fulfill this duty of this project that we're receiving community interest on, we'd be happy to. We definitely want the county involved in this to receive their input and to understand if this is feasible for LAFCO to help aid in. But again, the designation will not be changed. It's just trying to understand what is the qualifying criteria of why, what's the distinction between large parcel agriculture and resource management.
Wouldn't that fall on the responsibility of the county to make that decision?
Yeah, I would think so, but since they're backlogged, I believe, LAFCO would just kind of show maybe this is what we found, and they could use that and determine that how they wish.
I'm puzzled why. I understand the county being backlogged and how that delays things, but for us to pick up the responsibility which would normally fall on the county, maybe I'm missing something. I'm not quite sure why we are the overflow for them.
Well, this is for commission discussion to decide, and that can be determined if some other members from the committee want to fill in on, why this should be of interest to LAFCO. I do think, if we can help aid in that and, better help the community and residents, and if we have the funding, then why not? But if we're stepping on any toes, I understand that as well. So I think this is for the commission to decide.
Okay, last question. Are we funding this then?
So that is, again, I can't say for sure right now. I think LAFCO most likely, initially, some discussions were that we would not fund it. But if this is just going to be a special project to maybe show the distinctions and how the criteria are developed, LAFCO can present it to the county and fund it. I think since this is a draft right now, and until we work with the county to see what is the best method, I can't answer that and speak on it right now.
I guess I do have one last follow-on question. Was this a formal request from the county or from individuals within the county?
Excuse me, so what, the formal request for LAFCO, for the distinction, or?
For LAFCO to take on the investigation about the two zoning?
This came out of our ad hoc Measure D committee meeting.
But it didn't come from, sorry, I'm just still puzzled here. It didn't come officially from the county, it came through a discussion of the ad hoc Measure D
It
committee.
came from the discussion from the ad hoc Measure D committee meeting, and staff found out that this was an item on the county's ag-related projects. We did speak to county staff on kind of what's the history behind it. And then out of that meeting, at the ad hoc Measure D committee meeting, staff provided information, and it was recommended that we do a draft scope of work and present it at this meeting today.
Okay, so if anybody is on the ad hoc committee meeting and can offer additional insight, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So, this initiative was just some landowners in the East County, just understanding what was happening, what wasn't happening, why things were designated. So this idea is that we can't change zoning anymore, that's not the idea here. However, part of our mission, LAFCO's mission, is to promote agriculture. So we want to understand what's out there, what's not out there, what people are doing or not, what they're capable of doing. So we have a better understanding when things come before us that addresses the needs of agriculture. We have a better understanding. But more specifically to kind of the point here is, if we had it out of our service area agreement or we get an annexation proposal in this ag land, we need to make a determination whether we want to impose any conditions like mitigation. We probably should have a better understanding of what's being in certain designations versus other designations if we want to mitigate it somehow. So I've seen this, and honestly, I've seen this in other counties and experienced in other counties where they have actual policies. We do not. We tried several years ago, and we couldn't get it done. But it's possible that there could be land being annexed or out of service. We should understand what's valuable, what's in terms of values, or in terms of conservation value, open space value, or agriculture value. So we have a better understanding of, if we're going to mitigate, require mitigation, what should we expect, or what should we require? So that's kind of the genesis of it. But we have a better understanding to be prepared.
Thank you, Chair. Would that occur by a parcel? So if a parcel came forward, or you want to do it as a complete project instead of parcel by parcel?
My preference is we have the knowledge and not do it parcel by parcel, because I think we may be a little unfair in treating different parcels. I would rather have some sort of policy. That would be fair to me. John, anything else? Okay.
Sorry I'm late. Any comments on the Measure D committee?
There was a board meeting.
Yeah, it is Albert or Sean.
It's important that we get this right, so I think spending the time to do it right is important.
You want to turn on your? Yeah,
it's important that we get this right because it may take a long time before we can make any other changes. I know it took us 10 years. Slightly revised Measure D on the ballot. Thankfully it passed. Thanks to Supervisor Moore. And earlier today, we even heard continuing to implement those changes, including establishing a definition of ag buildings, of which we labor over every word. So, taking the time to do this right is important. I think that as well, things change over time. People's perception changes over time. People's thoughts and definitions of what resource management versus large parcel ag may change over time. And so, taking the time to do this right, whether it means scheduling meetings every week, every month, for a period of time, I'm all for it. There are specific, I mean, we're not here to answer these questions at this point.
The point here is to try to help the staff define a scope. If we so choose, we pass the budget, if we so choose, and then come back with whatever the revised. This is the staff's first attempt.
Anything within our scope and authority and power and mandate to do as a LAFCO. We haven't done this for 20 years as a LAFCO, looked into these things. So I would put everything on the table. And I would say a short but concerted effort, like get it done quickly, but with taking the time to do it right. Again, whether it's we meet every week for a month or every month for 3 months or however long it takes, but put it all on the table and get it right. Would be my preference.
Thank you, that does help me to understand better what exactly the goal is. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think my primary goal is our mission of helping agriculture. If there's a question that we can help and assist in, then let's, I think we owe it a try.
Well, it sounds like it's timely because we just had the modification and changes for Measure D, and that we will continue to forward and support ag, but let's define some terms that have been controversial in the past or unclear. And let's gain clarity so we can move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have questions, Glenn. With regards to funding, if we start seeing that it's going to cost a little bit more, then is it okay to go turn around and ask Alameda County to be able to fund that?
I think Judy determined, right?
Yes, I don't want to get a definitive answer today, but I think so, if they're agreeable. I just want to put emphasis that LAFCO will be directly working with the county planning department to make sure that this is feasible.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to tell the counties what to do or how to change anything. We just think it eventually it may come before us and we probably should be here with some policies. Let me ask if there aren't any other commissioner questions. I may ask, what would you like? I mean, I know, my script here says a motion. Do we need a motion? Do you have direction? What procedure? Where would you like us to go?
If the commission can just provide staff direction to work with the county and bring back a formal scope for approval at our next meeting, that's fine.
Okay, so just a straight up motion, please work with the county to come back in May.
Yes.
Right. Anyone interested in making that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say A.
A.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? One abstention.
All right, thank you so much. items or matters initiated by members of the commission? Nathan? None? Executive officer report. Rachel?
No report at this moment, at this meeting.
Let's go to informational items.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say for the record that we have a strategic planning workshop. It is rescheduled for Friday, June 23rd here at Dublin San Ramon Services District. It will be fully in person. I will check to see if there are hybrid capabilities, but we highly recommend all of our commissioners attend in person. And for progress report on the work plan, we are completing a few of the items in terms of our preliminary comprehensive fiscal analysis for Castro Valley and the surrounding communities. We should have an update on our SALT grant at our next meeting to show you some of these interactive maps that we have completed. And then for current and pending proposals, we do expect the City of Livermore to file an application on an Oak Business project near the City of Livermore Airport to annex those lands and change the sphere for a little bit for the City of Pleasanton. And that is all that I'd like to verbally report for the informational items.
All right, thank you. Before we adjourn, on June 23rd, I take it we did some sort of a poll.
Excuse me, Chair. We have one public comment for the informational item.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Mr. Abreu, you have 3 minutes to speak.
I don't know if any of you have ever been to Murphy's. I have. Murphy's. They have giant sequoias nearby. Visited them. I hope they didn't all burn down. So, but that's a long ways away. That's what I learned from Murphy's. That's the main takeaway here today. Murphy's a long way away. So does anybody get to go, any of the commissioners get to go to Murphy's? That would be nice. You could commute with the
No,
kids.
it's just a staff workshop only.
Okay. And then also I can't get the Murphy's. Okay. I miss Murphy's. Love to go back. And then on the strategic planning, I've been hearing about Max. Everybody know about Max? It's kind of like a fake city, but it's sort of, the county does that, and these Max, they actually have boundaries. Nobody knows the boundaries, but they're on Google, they're on maps, and if you look at, for example, the boundary of Castro Valley, it's been shrunk fit, like shrink wrapped, and it's little fingers. It's the closest point to Dublin is, a mile or 2 or 3 away. And then if you bring in another MAC, why does that matter? Because if you bring in another MAC, an East County MAC, and it has this expansive tendency to, maybe it'll go all the way to Castro Valley, and that's not right. It's not right. Those Castro Valley people out there in the hills that are on the Castro Valley board of the Castro Valley MAC, those are Castro Valley people. They're not East County MAC people. And why I'm talking about boundaries here. This is your job. This is the Local Agency Formation Commission. You do boundaries. So I'd like to see you do the MACs. If there are anybody plays with the MACs, more MACs, less MACs, changing MACs, should be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bring it back to close the public hearing on the informational items. Just wanted to, I know, did we take a doodle poll or some poll for the June 23rd? Are we going to get?
Yes, we
At
did.
this point, do we have a pretty full house?
Yes.
Great.
Please put it on your calendar.
Be nice to have everybody here.
I'll
Or-
say right now, the next day
For
is
your
my
birthday, May.
birthday,
We're having a big party.
so I'll probably be up in Washington State.
Oh, the day before is my birthday, June 22nd.
So we're gonna have a
we're
big
all
birthday.
birthday sisters.
What day?
Nathan, no. Ralph, your daughter. Okay, comedy. For comedy.
We want a cake here. Georgina and I want a cake.
Should you specify now flavors and your frosty?
We'll be back with you.
Okay.
I think she's gonna want chocolate.
Okay.
On the calendar.
June 23.
What time?
9 to 12.
All right. Is it good? Anything else? Adjourn.
So, Supervisor Howard,
And Ralph,
if
thank
you
you.
re-up then, can you
Ralph,
stay on?
thank you for your contribution to the bond.
Does it rotate?
6 pages and then another 15 pages of addendums.